cutting edge guests, awesome, uncensored, jaw-dropping information, plus funny memes, good deeds, and loads of laughter. Kind of have it all. Ladies and gentlemen, if your soul's awake, then welcome, because you're in the right place. Good day to you, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls. Welcome back to the Sovereign Soul Program, a show which is for we the people, and it stands for love, levity, and liberty, because after all, love is the greatest power everywhere. And laughter is the best medicine, especially covering serious topics in all matters ancient, current, and quantum, right? Absolutely. It's a mantra, our mascot. If you're seeing him for the first time, the Blinged Buddha, he fully subscribes to it as he fires red pills from his 9 mil. I'm your host, Brad Wozny. I'm grateful to you, divine lions and lionesses, for tuning in and for holding the line. I have served my country at the federal level as a Canadian infantry soldier. I have served it at the provincial level as a wildfire ranger, leaping out of helicopters to fight forest fires. I've been a part of the corporate rat race, where shortly after 9/11, I stood at ground zero as rescue efforts went on. Then I was at the Pentagon 72 hours later. I am now fortunate to become a Reiki master in 2015, and by leveraging the infinite source of the cosmic and our creator's power, I'm following my soul's purpose in this incarnation, which is to help uplift humanity's consciousness with song and story. With this stated, we have an incredible show here for you today. I have literally a hero for humanity, Lewis Herms, who's joining us. We're going to speak about the Truth Tour that's coming up, and I'd like to welcome Lewis to the show. Lewis, I've been following you for nearly 2 years, and the truth bomb drops that you've been putting out have been helping to red pill people around the world and wake them up to the spiritual war, the spiritual terrorism that's been waged on humanity for eons. Even if some faith-based patriots these days don't believe in incarnation, they're at least waking up to what's happened in the last 2.5 years. It's an honor and a blessing to have you here, my friend.
Well, Brad, it's fantastic to be here. You have an impressive background yourself, and I'm just pleased to get the word out. I mean, ultimately, I think that's what we're supposed to do, is make a difference.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I appreciate that too, Lewis. In addition to what you're stating, tell everybody a little bit about your background, because you have literally put your life on the line. You've had death threats. You have put your finances on the line to come out here, especially pressing hard over the last 2 years to wake people up so they can take back America.
Well, it's been interesting, to say the least, because everything kind of just been turned on its head from what my expectations of life were 4 or 5 years ago. The reality is I've been pretty much awake for a lot of years. I was in an accident, I don't know, probably 30 some years ago. And I was lucky enough to have a chiropractor kind of school me on what big pharma really was. And so I've been awake to that for a long time. And then there was a time where HARP, if you remember, the weather manipulation machines were very prevalent. You could easily search that. I was involved in that, and we were searching and sharing information back in the day. And then I saw firsthand how powerful the control structure was, because then what they did is they released a mortgage program called HARP. Now, it was spelled a little different, but we went through, you could spell HAARP with the weather manipulation machine incorrectly, and you could still find it right on the first page. Yeah. Just them releasing that viral mortgage program, that I don't think 10, 12 pages, I don't know how many it took to find anything anymore, was gone, just absolutely gone. So it was very clear to me at the time that that's why they did that mortgage program, or that's why they named it that, right? And it went viral because it was the most progressive mortgage program in the history of mortgage at the time. Probably had a lot to do with the real estate crash later. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting, as I said, wow, they are really, really in control. All of that was happening, and I was still trying to semi-wake people up, like just not on a platform, but people I would talk to, so on and so forth. Yeah. And then it was very, very interesting, because what happened is I got to a point where we hit 9/11, right? And I was screaming at the television at the time, this is controlled demo. This is obviously not what it seems like, so on and so forth. But now I have to be honest, 3 days later of watching the news, right? I was absolutely programmed.
Yeah.
100%. And I started believing the narrative. Not only believing the narrative, pushing the narrative.
Yeah.
Right. And then I don't know what it took. A year or 2 years later, I just suddenly snapped and goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Wake up again. Right. And then so when this whole deal through Trump and then COVID started, it was recognizable virtually immediately. I think I had about 3 days talking to the kids. They're like, wow, looks like there's a serious virus. And I'm like, wait, no, something's going on here. And then I just started to dig and dig and dig.
Yeah.
And then the reality is I have to give credit to my wife's friend, because she sent us Fall CABAL. And then I was deep down in the rabbit hole. And then what I noticed though at the time, and this is no detriment to the influencers out there, is that our films were pretty much talking to the echo chamber in most cases. So you already had to be semi-awake in order to resonate with the films.
Right.
And I said, I'm a solution guy. So I said, what's the solution? And then I came up with a film called 2020 Vision, which slowly acclimates all within there. So it goes through everything, but within one film, it can acclimate a normie to what's going on. And
I've got your website up here right now.
Thank you. Oh, there it is right there. So, and that thing, that's a very interesting film because it took off really well. And then of course, it got deleted on several platforms, not just YouTube, which is interesting.
Not surprising.
And then I got a phone call from somebody that I won't say the name, but extraordinarily prominent in this movement. And he said, that film is probably a couple of years ahead of its time. He said, so what you should do is probably in a couple of years start re-releasing it. So I should probably start doing that now. He says, because it'll be extraordinarily relevant. And I said, that's interesting. So clearly they knew something that I didn't know. And then I ended up making a film. I happened to be on a tour and met a gentleman called Dr. Jerry Rivera. And Dr. Jerry Rivera, his assistant, came in to greet us. And she said, would you like some DDW? And I go, what's DDW? And she says, deuterium depleted water. I'm, what the hell is that? That's what
that doesn't sound too appetizing.
Yeah, I'm like, what? And she goes, well, and she explained it, and I said, wow, this is pretty interesting. So our water has something called deuterium. Never heard of it before. So I was supposed to talk to Dr. Jerry about Russia, some healing technologies, and Nikola Tesla, but I was compelled to ask him about this, and he explained this amazing thing that's going on in Russia, where they found out that our water is on the whole planet is pretty jacked up. Like 99.9% of all water, including ocean water, has this deuterium in it. I can go into a whole thing on how it got there, but anyways, so I made that movie. It was called Watch the Water, Trump, Q, and Deuterium, because I found a tie in between those three subjects, and that went like mega viral, got millions and millions of views. Not on my platform though, which is interesting. So I think I had 85,000 on my platform. It was stolen, rebranded. People cut my logo out of it, but there it is right there. But a lot of people ended up seeing it, and then I started making a lot of films, and after that I got a lot of interviews, and then I found again the same situation. I said, I think I'm being called, or I was being called. It was like a direct download, and it says, Lewis, you have to do what you can to help people transition from being asleep to being awake, but also keep like a calming, positive voice in the community. Because I have a big issue with the hopium, and I have a big issue with the fear porn.
I like that word hopium. You're one of the very few people who I know has used that term before. You want to just describe that real for a moment?
Yeah. So I think it's very important to give people hope, but if it's reality based,
Yeah.
right? I think it's dangerous to install hope in people that doesn't have a foundation. It's like a glass floor.
It breeds complacency.
So what happens, you drop a pebble and then you fall through the glass floor because it's a paper foundation. And that's what I think hopium really is. And I think that could be extraordinarily dangerous to people. And I've seen people get literally borderline suicidal when their hopium falls apart.
Right.
So I've taken a more pragmatic approach. So what I do in order to install hope is I find real life events, real things happening. And then I like to publish those constantly so people know there are things that you can hold on that actually are happening, factual, where you don't have to hold on to a maybe or a myth, right? And then the fear porn I have a challenge with too, because I believe, frankly, I use this analogy a lot. I believe the cabal resonates in fear. In fact, I think it's about the only weapon they have left, frankly.
Yes.
I think they're being decimated. So I use the analogy, if we know they have fear for their fuel, right? If I'm in a war, let's say it's World War II and there's a tank battalion on the other side and we have our tank battalion and it's a screaming crazy battle, their tanks run out of fuel. Am I going to send my tanker trucks over there to refuel them? I would never do that, right? But virtually that's what we're doing when we resonate in fear, apprehension, anxiety, and all these things. That's just feeding the cabal. So my goal is to find the positive in absolutely everything we can, real life scenarios, and then we can move forward. So that's pretty much where I am today in what I do. And any way I can get the truth out there,
right?
And hand to hand touching people is very, very important too.
It really is, especially with the way that they've divided everybody and attempted to keep them apart, since we're such a social creature, and you mentioned with the 9/11 and waking people up. And as people heard in my intro or know me from the audience, I mean, I was at the Pentagon and you could see it was a small explosion. There was not a 757 or whatever they said was there. There's so much information out there now. I can't believe people aren't awake to it anyway. As a result of that, the key thing is, though, is not staying in the fear. And you can have righteous indignation, as Tracy Joe Jaco says, which is wonderful how she says it. It's like, well, righteous anger is actually righteous indignation, which leads to justice. And the key thing about justice is uniting people. You need to unite the warriors of light, whether you're Catholic, whether you're Buddhist, whether you're atheist.
That's right.
As long as you are not for corruption, being a pedophile, raping, killing, murdering, and stealing. As long as you're not for that, you're literally a warrior of light, as far as I'm concerned. As long as you're doing something, whether it is being a digital soldier, as we've heard, Lewis, right? Like sharing this interview, sharing information, or standing up. And speaking of standing up, I just want to acknowledge that you have children who have literally stood up, who have fought. Why don't we just do an acknowledgement to the other veterans who are watching, or the veterans and families here, and just share with us a little bit about your experience of being a father of children who have went off to serve their country.
Well, I'm so proud and happy that you brought this up, because I recently did an actual, I was at a speaking event. I was invited to Baby Trump's event at the Reckoning Fest.
Yeah, Chris Eric's a great guy.
Okay, yeah, and I was one of the speakers, and it was the first time I started to recognize, my wife was telling me this. She says, I noticed that they always ask about if you're a spouse of a military or you're the kids of a military, but they rarely ask or give recognition to the parents of military people. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty huge. I'm a parent of three military guys, one in the Air Force currently, two, you'd say former Marines, but once a Marine, always a Marine. One of them I'm so proud of. Well, I'm proud of all of them, but one of them was actually in the midst of being pressured to take the jab. And absolutely he held his ground. And it started, the short stories, it started from A, we're going to throw you into the brig, to Z, he held his ground so far that he literally got full pension and everything, and was released, with a good record. So it's amazing how if you hold your ground spiritually, and you realize that everything that's going on is a spiritual information war. So even the military had no teeth.
Yeah.
They weren't holding these people accountable. They just held their ground.
Yeah.
And they got frustrated, like, okay, well, just get out. We'll sign whatever you want. You got it. You get your pension, you get your houses, you get everything you want. It's crazy.
That is crazy. It is crazy. And this is a segue to why we're talking about the Truth Tour, the previous one you ran live, and what's coming up, because this is published. This is a manifesto published in bullet point format, what you're seeing on the United Nation World Agenda 2030 website. This has been published in their books. This is what they intend to do. And this is where we are right now. And you can't just leave it up to military or sheriffs or law enforcement. It has to be everybody. It has to be everybody, because our numbers are stronger. That's what it is. Look at this. The end of all privately owned property. Say that 10 times fast. David Lametti, the version of Attorney General, Justice Minister in Canada, the version of the Attorney General of the United States, just spoke out a few months ago and said that I don't believe that Canadians have the fucking right. He didn't say fuck, I said fuck. Have the right to own any private property.
It's madness.
It's madness. And a year ago, the premier, which is the version of a governor, the premier of Saskatchewan, had published himself and his cabinet and put it on the Saskatchewan government website that they have the right to come and take your property if they feel you are violating the health codes of the COVID-19 policy. This is 2021. It's a year ago.
Yes.
I sent it to my cousins because when my parents' families, my father's parents from Poland and the Ukraine, they fled the Blitzkrieg and they fled the Nazi war machine. And they came over, they settled in North Battleford, Saskatchewan as farmers, didn't know a lick of English. So think about that. Some of my family members got up and went over and fought the Nazi war machine on all branches, Canadian military in World War II and World War I. And I said to them, I'm like, listen, guys, they could take the family farm. They could take the family property. They can take your property. Totally dismissed my own family. Yeah. And I sent them links from the government website. And here it is, folks. And this is what we're looking at right now. Gruesome Newsom in California pushing his agenda, end of private transportation owning cars, and human beings concentrated into human settlement zones and cities.
Of course, that's their main goal.
That's happening in China, in Canada right now.
Yeah, that's their main goal, and they're building what they call smart cities in the U.S. Yeah, but we know that's a dumbed down way of saying it's a control mechanism. They know if they put everybody in cities, they've got them. They're completely in control. It's those crazy deplorables that aren't in the cities that fuck everything up for them.
Yeah, exactly. And you're seeing it in Dutch this summer. We had the Dutch farmer uprising, the Germany farmer uprising, the end of private farms and grazing livestock. So that's bullet point 5 from the bottom. So this is a playbook, a list that they've published. And for those people who are blind or complacent that are ignoring it, well, this is one of the reasons that we are doing this, to stand up. And it's been in front of our eyes, Lewis, like you and I were talking earlier, just before we started recording, like this. So many people do not know about the tyranny of the Starbucks logo and what it stands for. Do you want to explain this one to the folks that are watching this broadcast or listening to this podcast as well?
Well, the thing about the symbolism is it's most of it comes back from Freemasonry, right? And the all-seeing eye symbolism. So they have their God. Their God is not the same type of God that we may recognize. And like you said, it doesn't matter if you're Catholic, Christian, Muslim, or whatever. This is a different God that they recognize. And everything, I believe most of it actually came from Babylonian black magic. mainly it got its stronghold between 100 and 700 AD, although there was, some aspects of it even before Christ. But it was very, very interesting. So everything in here is symbolism and spell casting. A lot of people don't understand this is every time you grab a Starbucks cup, in their mind. Now, this is very important. In their mind, they're casting a spell. They're constantly casting the spell. Now, I have a strong belief, and this is where a lot of influencers, even yourself, maybe, I don't know, may disagree with me, is I think it's like voodoo, and it doesn't work unless we accept it. But manifestation is the most powerful thing that we can do,
right?
Especially as a collective, right? The cabal, the deep state, these baddies, whatever you want to call it, they understand this. They do not manifest on their own, but what they use us as a social collective to manifest for them. And the way they do that is by constantly putting in certain propaganda messages that we either fear, because when you fear and you worry, you actually manifest what you're worrying about. So they put these things constantly in, or they actually implement symbols like in the Starbucks symbols, and they predict to program us constantly. So we're manifesting for them because they don't do that themselves. We do it for them. So we have to be aware of this. You have Baphomet, right? You know what I mean? It's just absolutely.
And this is a deity
crazy
on this of the satanic church who eats children. She eats children.
Right. But this is back from,
commercialized.
If I'm right, this is hundreds of years old on the on the left, right? Mm-hmm. And then they just put her right there on the Starbucks cup.
Yep.
It's absolutely crazy. I saw a crest from Fauci's family. I believe it was out of Switzerland, where they're actually eating a baby on their crest.
Yeah. It's the same one too this fall or spring.
These people are just the sickest,
They definitely are. And leading into the Truth Tour is this.
Yeah, all of these people will be speaking on the Truth Tour. Great segue.
Yeah. Not right.
Not
the antithesis to the Truth Tour, and the reason why that you're coming out with Truth Tour 2, and it's about to kick off in a few days, September 23rd to October the 23rd, 17 cities in 31 days, because this is the cabinet of the President of the United States. Exactly. Now, doesn't matter what side you're on, currently, these are the ones that are publicly, supposedly in power, in charge of the nuclear codes, in charge of the monkeypox initiative, in charge of the freaking military.
That's right.
And I don't know what the sailor boy one holding the dog bag is there right now, but I mean, this is the quote unquote inner circle. And you know what they stand for? I mean, the monkeypox guy, I can't even remember his name. He's openly a head member of the Church of Satan.
Oh yeah.
Openly.
Absolutely. It's
openly.
I know.
And this is the screenshot that has been put together with him from the cover of a recent magazine. It was like GQ or something. And it says The Good Doctor. And this is his cover shot.
They're so proud. They're so progressive. They're just the most amazing people on the planet. Talk about the social dementedness that they're trying to make us accept as the norm. And that's the key, is they need to accept as normal. What people don't realize, especially people that are well, there's a little one right here. See where it says "Stand with Ukraine" in the upper left hand corner. You know what I mean? So people don't understand that's the base of the Khazarian mafia. But it's very interesting. So if you don't agree with the way those people look in cabinet, then suddenly you're homophobe, you're racist, you're a xenophobe. I mean, they just go on and on and on and on, because God forbid you have an opinion that people should act in a certain way. Now, I have no challenge in somebody's private life, the way they handle their business.
Yeah.
I don't care what they wear or what they become. It doesn't really matter. But what happens, people need here's what the left doesn't know is they're not trying to get us to accept. They're trying to push a certain agenda on it.
Yes.
And so there's 3 steps. The left, the not the Marxists, but just the left, the normies out there, they believe we're trying to be accepting. That's all we're trying to do. They don't understand that it's a lot deeper than that, where it goes to not only pushing the agenda, what it really goes down to is their Satanistic love for Baphomet and Baal. That's what it is. But
which is child sacrifice.
It goes down to the end. Exactly.
Yep.
It's all about child sacrifice.
Yep.
So they support it. So they have their minions, I call them, out there screaming at anybody that disagrees. Their minions have no clue in many cases. The end goal is all about accepting child sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end goal. But they, it's hard to get through to these people. But I believe there is some form of intentional awakening here.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's the good news.
Well, and that awakening comes in the form of the Truth Tour too. We've already just done a Truthathon last Saturday, which is amazing. And really, I feel this is the best lineup that we've found on the planet that you and your team have put together, Lewis, because it's a wonderful opportunity for anyone out there, especially those who have been kind of feeling like they are patriotic or they're at least enlightened, but they can't talk to their neighbors. They can't talk to their family members because they're cast out.
Right.
This is an opportunity to join like-minded souls in a loving environment, whom really they share a common vision, for a united and free country and the world, because this is a galactic war. And what was awesome, we just had on the Truthathon that was free, and that recording is up at truthtour.net, is you had this outpouring of passion. It was very exciting. I mean, man, I was on a high for 3 days just with the interactions we all had, because it was so lovely to see that you instantly feel different, right? When you're surrounded in high vibrational frequency of enlightened patriots, it's absolutely beautiful, and the day before I had just recorded for the Sovereign Soul Show, an hour-plus interview with Derek Johnson, from military veteran with a DV, distinguished veteran, to a country music star who goes out and puts his life on the line because now he has to have private security. He hasn't said it. I'm the one saying it. He has to have private security because his life is threatened because he simply took the executive orders Trump signed and proved under military law and proved in open source information that Donald John Trump had never ceased to be president and still president. And now this guy is on all 17 tour stops. Derek Johnson, people can meet him live and get VIP access to him. They sign up at truthtour.net, or heck, they can even stream, one of the 17 cities or all of them from wherever they are. It's really cool. You want to tell us a little bit more about this amazing event from the prior Truth Tour and what we have coming up now?
Yeah. So the prior Truth Tour came up, well, I think it was divine, destined, but here's why. It's because at first I have a fairly large, I guess, viewership, subscriber following, I don't know what you call it, on Telegram. And
we're all doing this every time a new video drops.
You're funny.
A million people around the world. Lewis. Yeah. Well, really though, we're having a little bit of fun, but honestly, you've got some incredible connections yourself, and the intel that you put out is top drawer, top notch, top drawer for the UK, for the Yukies in the UK and Ireland that are watching, top notch, mate. So
I appreciate that.
Amazing. You got it.
All I really care is just the truth. That's really all I care about. So I had an idea so I just threw it out there. Hey, would anybody, because my format's called Screw Big Gov.
Yeah.
I just threw it out there on my Telegram and said, hey, would anybody like to get together? And I was just blown away of the response was just incredible. I was very blessed to hear the response. So then we put out some dates and some places, and we decided let's do one in Florida. I had a lot of trouble. I was surprised in Florida negotiating space. They find out that my format was called Screw Big Gov, and they uninvited me and so on and so forth. So finally we got this place. I think it was in Tampa, nice hotel, all set up, just about ready to pay for it. So they send me over the contracts, and they more than doubled the price overnight to me. And I was negotiating with them for about 3 weeks. And they knew that we were in a bind and we were getting down to the wire because people needed to start getting their tickets, booking their flights and all that stuff. We had a lot of speakers that were lining up. I said, wow. So I decided to step back for a second. And I asked, which I do, is I say, so clearly this wasn't supposed to happen. So there's something that's more important. What is that? And I always ask questions. What is that? What is more important? And it was like, well, this isn't about you and Screw Big Gov. This is about the people. So the question came back to me is, how would you serve the people better? And I said, well, I better get my ass on the road and see how many places I can get to in about a month. I gave myself a month. So then I created a list of 22 stops in 31 days, which I knew would be extraordinarily rigorous. Put together just a phenomenal team. I warned them that this would be very, very hard, but through becoming uncomfortable, you actually become better. Mm-hmm. So they realized the outcome, and then at the end, it was just extraordinarily successful. What the part that blew me away, which most resonated with me, is when we got boots on the ground to meet the people, they were so genuinely appreciative just to have somebody do this. And as you know, I put together a very eclectic group of speakers, influencers, whatever we want to call them, because I did not want to pigeonhole myself into just the spiritual or just the Christian or just the Patriots or just the MAGA. Because I think that's not who we are as a people. We are very eclectic and we have a lot of learning to do. And like I say often, I said, Lewis Herms is not the arbiter of truth. I said, it's not up to me to decide what's true and what's not true. It's up to me to offer up opportunity for people to use their own discernment. So then that's why I put together just the most incredible group of speakers. But even better than that, Brad, is when we got on the ground, what I found out, what really resonated with me is watching the people within the cities connect with each other.
Yes.
That was huge. And exchanging phone numbers so they can have lunches and texts and find and do their own groups. So halfway through, I was called to do another one, kind of started mentioning it, people thought I was crazy. And then my wife begrudgingly agreed to it 2/3 through. And then I made the decision, and we did a formal announcement at the last one in Las Vegas about Truth Tour 2. Yeah. And the goal on this one is kind of going to the forbidden cities or near them. Sometimes you can't go into them. So we're going into Sacramento, we're going to Oregon and Washington, and we're going to go by Wyoming. There's a reason for that, because there's a couple fun things we're going to do. We're not disclosing yet. Then we're going right into St. Paul, Minnesota. You know what I mean? Bloomington, Illinois, Evansville, Indiana. We just put Lansing, Michigan on the map, and that's blowing up. We're going right into the heart of Brooklyn, going in the heart of Boston, Lakewood, New Jersey, Charleston, South Carolina, which a lot of people may think is conservative, but that is about the most cabal territory in the country.
Yeah. And Georgia, right? Wow.
Yeah, and Georgia. Yeah, that's South Carolina. We're going to Tampa, Florida. We're going to go visit Elvis in Benton, Arkansas. If anybody doesn't know, I'm talking about Bob Joyce. Lubbock, Texas, Tucson, Arizona, and then we have an absolute mega event. In Los Angeles. It's actually in Anaheim, and it's going to be great. We're going to have a band, Ethan Lucas's band will be playing there. I think Wano Saban will probably close out close out our show. He may speak.
Yeah, and 107's confirmed he's going to be there on their tour.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He's talking about it himself now, I guess.
Yeah,
so he'll be there. He'll be there both days, he said, which is fantastic. So one of my something I just loved is we brought a lot of people that you may not know. Mm-hmm. Also, so we have the big huge names that everybody knows about, and then we have a lot of people don't know. Frankly, the content from the people that you've never heard of sometimes was even better. It was just blew me away. There's a young lady, the first time she ever spoke, she spoke at one of our events, and it was her name's Ireland Clark, and she literally got a standing ovation. She just boom, boom, boom. And she was just so on it. And so I'm just so thrilled to do this. And, we're traveling now. We have just I can tell you at every single stop, and this may blow people away, every single stop, you'll have Mark Atwood will be there. Jason Q will be there. Derek Johnson, as you mentioned, will be there. Tom Numbers will be there. And Bruce Poppy will be there. And then it's several stops. You even have a Baby Trump, and you're going to have, Charlie Freak is going to come in on a video. And then you have, Mickey Klon and just incredible people. I think Nino's going to be in Arizona. Two ladies I love that are literally were trafficked, Laura Worley and Cassidy O'Brien. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on of the wonderful people, and they're just genuine people. You know what they all have in common? None of them are getting paid to do this.
Yeah, nobody's getting paid. And in fact, we have Tom Numbers and Mark Atwood, who you just referenced. They have flown from the United Kingdom.
That's right.
To the continental United States, CONUS, and they're footing the bill. And for whatever I can do, I've already committed to being live at least one location, and as many as I can over the next few weeks.
Yeah, we got to get you to more. You're amazing.
Yeah, well, I thank you for that. The key thing, folks, is the tickets are incredible. It's a no-brainer. I mean, you have a great no-brainer offer. You can be a VIP and you get this awesome swag bag, as well as a meet and greet with all the speakers at each event, whichever event you choose to be a VIP at, which also gives you live stream access. And then there are folks, when you go to truthtour.net and you look at the website and you say, you know what, I live around Cheyenne, Wyoming. Maybe I'm in Denver, Colorado, or I'm up in the mountains. I can't make it, but I can get the live stream. So you can go online and you can choose. It's kind of a great piecemeal menu, choose. And for as little as $17 to get access to all these people.
That's right.
These are true costs. We're still in a fiat Babylonian money system. And so there are conferences to pay for. There are internet, Wi-Fi access to pay for. There is gas and transportation to move a team around. And this is all volunteer, but people.
Oh yeah, it's extraordinary expensive. Yeah.
Threads, and they're still doing this, and they're still standing up, and they're still getting out there, and they've got everybody has targets on their back. Everybody has targets on their back, and some of them have had multiple death threats and have to have their own private security, and they're still getting out here to do this. So I just think it's amazing. It's a wonderful opportunity for anybody to join these like-minded souls in a loving environment and just meet those people. That was one of the cool things I was hearing from Tracy Joe after the Florida event in the first Truth Tour, that it's almost like people are in these neighborhoods and they don't know, because there's no flag you put up that say, I'm enlightened, I'm awakened. And we've seen what just happened. Matter of fact, we'll go to a funny meme, but a serious too, of somebody who raises their hand and says, I'm awakened, like Mike Lindell, and he gets stomped, right? I mean, the meme already just went, wow, how good is this?
That's beautiful.
So now you get to see people and you connect with them and you have these conversations. And this is what happens, folks. We unite people with light, with love, with levity. This creates that liberty, that freedom, both in the country, around the world, and intergalactically, if you're so inclined to that mindset as well, by virtue of us, standing up and just saying, oh, I know, hey, this is great. Yeah. And getting information and seeing different points of view. which is such a wonderful thing that you guys have brought forward here. I got another funny one for you.
It is. I'm very proud of I call them a cast of characters.
Yeah.
Because it's phenomenal. And I call this tour the transition to greatness. What's that? My $601 Venmo transaction. It's so
that's
cool.
if people don't stand up and speak out and say no.
That's right.
This is happening now while we're recording this, right? There's ridiculous stuff like this happening. Yeah.
We have to show the stupidity of it. That'll help wake people up too.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, the first one was just absolutely incredible. Mm-hmm. And yes, it is very affordable, and yes, it costs a lot of money. I mean, I'm traveling with a large crew and people 12 to 14. We have to pay for hotels at every single spot, and there's food and all those vehicles with the gas, so it is incredibly expensive. I clearly lost money on the first one. Who knows what will happen on this one, but I like to say two things. So yes, buy your tickets, or yes, help donate. That's fantastic. But at the same time, I don't like a barrier to truth if for some reason let's say you're on a limited income on Social Security or something like that. So if you were to click contact and for some reason you do need help financially, just click text us, call us, or email us. We'll find a way to get you to see this or be there, because there's no reason that somebody that can barely get 2 meals a day needs to be paying for this. So we also want to make sure we're taking care of people at the same time. And if you have abundance, then help us out. It's kind of a give and a take, but
right.
I mean, it's very important for me.
Yeah, it really is. And the key cornerstone, as we're all aware of, is
I love this.
The more that people do not do anything, the greater the chances that you're going to be deemed one of these folks.
Yeah.
Right. And replace that with a Bible, replace that with a Tibetan text, or just replace that with, hey, I just want my family to be safe. Well, the less people stand up, speak out, connect, the greater the chances that this will continue to happen. And Canada is 100% a communist country. All right. The UK was going down that way, and still potentially could, as long as people don't stand up. And right now we've got fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine is 100% legalized in the province of British Columbia. In 5 days, from Monday to a Friday, in May, Trudeau went, you can no longer own guns, trade guns, sell guns, buy guns, shutting it down. Then the next day, he legalized all that stuff in the province of British Columbia. Then he said he's coming after anybody who supported the Freedom Convoy and throwing them in jail without due process. We've already seen what they've done is they've trampled old ladies with 14 hands high horses. And we've already seen them break into and tear down property and close our bank accounts and force us into poverty from what we're doing. And we're all standing up as volunteer digital warriors and citizens and saying enough. And I just happen to have a perspective that may be unique or some information unique, and I share. And I appreciate the opportunity to be there with you all. But it's a very serious matter, as we still make fun of those freaks that are out there, because demons don't like laughter, right, Lewis?
Oh,
they
yes.
don't like being laughed at by people who can see through their facade.
And they don't have a sense of humor either.
They have no sense of humor.
It's great.
Yeah. So folks, go to truthtour.net. You've got all your information there. All right. And in addition to that, once you've signed up, and if you're willing, we do invite you to sign up. And if you're willing, please share this interview with people. Please jump on to the Telegram channel or share this site with folks on your social media page. And again, it's united by light and united in numbers. We all win. We can't just leave it to certain government officials and certain military personnel and certain law enforcement officers and sheriffs to put their life on the line on our behalf. It's called We the People of the United States, and it's called We the People of Humanity. And why am I, Brad, a Canadian, saying this? Because I'm human first. We all have red blood that runs through our veins, the ones that don't shapeshift. And we all have heart, and we're all here created by a benevolent force, whatever you name it. And that's what we're after here, is to save sentient life in this world. And we need to do it. And Lewis has just put together with his team an amazing venue to do it. And we're going to have a lot of laughs. And we're going to have concerts and music from country music star Derek Johnson to Ethan Lucas, all these Nashville boys coming out of the woods, right?
Yeah.
And funny parodies.
Billy Falcon. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and love, levity, and liberty, folks. That's what we stand for on the Sovereign Soul Show. So you can step back into your sovereignty, take back the power that was given to you by your creator, and which is within you right now, and express it unified with all of these people. Lewis, my good man, I ask every guest on the show, and the first time I've had you on, I'm so blessed and honored to have you here, man. It's the genie in the ball question. If there was one thing you could do with all of God's power, what would you do?
Wow, that is a fantastic question. And I'm glad you didn't tell me ahead of time too, because I don't like to be scripted. With all God's power. So here's been a dream of mine forever is I've always, okay, I don't know that we can eliminate evil, but I would love if we had an automatic discernment, almost like a light bulb of that would turn on somebody when you're talking to them, whether they're evil or good.
Oh, cool.
And it would just be, that would be incredible to me, because I have a feeling, and I'm not talking about that now we would eliminate them or snipe them or do anything, although that's an option. But what I think what would happen is people would know who they're dealing with, right? And they would push them aside. They just wouldn't even deal with them. Because I believe in life, there's three types of people. I think most people are good. Yeah. I think there's a large swath of society that's neutral, and there's a very small portion that's evil. But I do believe that the neutrals can be pushed either way.
Yeah.
Right. So if I believe our discernment's getting better and better, so we may not get a light bulb, but if we can start to recognize what evil is quicker, I believe that alone, because we're all good-hearted in nature, I believe we would just have virtual utopia. And it's already a good place to live, but I think it would be extraordinary. And frankly, I'm fighting for the kids. That's really all it comes down to. And not just kids now, but the kids for the future and their future on top of that.
Yeah, amen to that. And having been a victim of child abuse, sexual abuse, being taken and been abducted myself, and spent years and years and years, probably 2 decades, in depression and lots of suicidal thoughts and tendencies and whatnot, I can say that saving the kids is the key thing for me, which drives me every day to do these shows with the very limited, compensation that's in the pocket, because it's key that we have this world free for the next generations and generations of souls. Because if not, then it's over, and we've seen how far they go. They go all the way. So we need to go all the way on the satellite too. Lewis, thank you very much to you and your lovely wife for the support in what you do in the Truth Tour, to your team, and also for being parents of service members. Thank you to your children, the 2 Marines, a member of the Air Force, and for holding the line. Folks, truthtour.net, jump on that now. This is where you find love, levity, and the liberty that you've been looking for, you've been craving for, and the real hope to see and hear from these enlightened speakers who have come from different corners of the planet to be here live and also online to serve humanity. Thank you, mate. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Appreciate your courage and everything you do too.
Thank you, mate. Many blessings.
Thanks for joining us on the program, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, follow, subscribe, share this with 9 friends and family. And of course, if you enjoy our blinged Buddha firing red pills from his 9mm, let us know.